Welcome to Inside Sim Racing. I'm Darren Ganji here with my good buddy
Sean Cole.
And today we are re-reviewing, the GT Omega Racing Simulator and this new triple monitor stand that they have out.
It's a whole lot of monitor behind us.
It is. And so this is actually considered the GT Omega Racing Supreme package.
And we originally reviewed the GT Omega Racing chassis, just the main chassis, back in August of 2010. And back then, I actually scored it an 8 here in America, or outside of Europe. A 9 if you're in Europe, because it's a pretty well-priced rig there. But the shipping made it a little expensive outside that, and that gave it an 8. And we did have a few things that we didn't like, and they've actually made some changes since then. And most of the things they addressed were things that we picked out on it for.
Yeah, first thing was actually, why don't you just...
recline this?
Yeah, recline this for me there, please. First thing was my complaint was this wheel deck was too low. And we actually talked about this plate that they came out with, but we didn't have it in time. And since they have made it compatible with the Thrustmaster T500 and the Fanatec wheels and the Logitechs, obviously. So this is hard mounted to the deck. But yeah, it's got this little platform. And the other change is the keyboard tray doesn't helicopter anymore. They made it. They added a knob underneath it, so actually it gives it a lot of adjustability.
Yeah, it goes anywhere around, and then you can lock it down in that position.
I like it. Actually, it's probably one of my favorite keyboard trays.
I'm with you. It's extra long too, so you could actually put your mouse on there with the keyboard.
Yeah, look how much room there is on this thing. So yeah, other than that, it's pretty much the same rig.
Yeah, now it does come in 3 different options. Comes in the Basic, the Pro, and the Supreme. The Basic is going to hold your wheel, your pedals, your speaker system, and you, of course, so it's the basic part of the rig. The Basic goes for 250 British pounds, and that includes all VAT, and you get the rig without any extras. You can then either add one of the 6 options they have available based on your setup, or move up to the Pro, and it goes for an additional 50 pounds, and you get the monitor and console tray, shifter mount, and keyboard tray.
And that's not this monitor stand. That's the Supreme we were talking about when we first came on. And that's basically everything you see here. The Supreme is the triple monitor stand, shifter mount, speaker stands, keyboard tray, the whole shabammy. Also, I would imagine the console tray comes with it too. And if you wanted to add that single which we'll show you here, the single monitor stand that hooks right up to the base here. And that goes for 350 British pounds. And if you convert that to US dollars, it's like 570, so just under 600 bucks.
So there are a lot of rigs that are just under 600 bucks. This is a lot of rig for under 600 bucks.
Doesn't include shipping though either.
Okay.
So depending on where you are in the world, the shipping's gonna vary. That was one of the other things that we had talked about in our last review. By the way, we'll have a link to our last review in this description here. Yeah, depending on where you live, the further away you live from the UK, as far as I know, they're going to have other distribution points around the world eventually. But right now, price depends on where you're at.
Yeah. Like we mentioned before, this rig is really in direct competition with the Abuto. I mean, it's another all-in-one rig at a reasonable price. And our pros and cons really remain pretty much the same, except for the things that we just mentioned that they've already addressed. And therefore, on the rev scale, we're still at a 9.
Yeah, it's definitely a solid 9. And again, depending on where it's shipping, and again, they're supposed to be updating some of the locations. It's got a little bit of wheel deck wobble, but not that affects the driving. I honestly enjoyed driving in this thing. This whole setup looks really cool.
Yeah, it does.
When I got it all set up and you walked up, you thought, wow, that looks pretty cool, doesn't it?
It looks a lot more expensive than it is.
Exactly. That's a great point going out. Final thoughts here, and again, if you want to watch our original review of this, go here into our description. We'll have a link to it. The lovely Jessica Lopez hosted that one. So yeah, it's a great rig. I like that it's fully compatible with the Thrustmaster. Everything is drilled. You can hard mount everything as far as the T500 goes: shifter, pedals, and the wheel. The only thing is, this is just like the VRC 1000 where we have to take off the hoop. We didn't have to take off the hoop. We just used the same one from the VRC 1000 rig that we just reviewed. But the stock Thrustmaster pedal base doesn't fit. You have to take off that bar.
Right.
But yeah, it's a great bang for the buck.
I agree.
The real reason why we're here, not real reason because we were going to do this anyway, because we've been talking about it, but the thing we're going to review here is, a new review, is this triple monitor stand. But as you've seen throughout the review here, we've had these 24-inch monitors hooked up to it. 19 to 24 inches is what this will hold. And you can actually hook up a really large monitor to it too, like a 42, I would imagine.
Right.
And I would say this thing will definitely hold it. This thing's, man, these single monitors, these triples aren't very light. So.
Right, that's a lot of weight.
Yeah, I would definitely say I would trust a large 42 on that stand. But besides being for the GT Omega, this thing's made for any rig that'll fit under it. You know what? That's one thing we've always talked about, having this bridge type setup for a triple monitor stand, so you can slide this thing right up to the wheel there.
Yeah, it's a completely independent unit. I can actually move it. And like Darren said, it's not even contacting this rig, which means when you do start getting on the wheel, none of those forces are going to be transmitted to the monitors at all, or you could use it with any rig, so it really is a standalone piece. The other thing about it is it's very adjustable. You can completely adjust the height. We have it pretty close to the maximum height, but there's still a little bit more you can go up.
Actually, there's about 3-4 inches more. You can go higher on this.
And it really could go all the way down to the ground if we, wanted some kind of lay-down rig of some sort.
Bob Earl.
Yeah, there you go.
Would fit perfect under this thing. You know, even though he does have his own monitor, triple monitor stand, but is that a, no, it's a single monitor
stand. It was a single,
stand.
It had to adapt it.
Exactly. So yeah, this would work on anything from a Bob Earl up to, I don't know, pretty tall rig.
Yeah,
a VRC would work on it that we just had. The angle of the monitors is at 150 degrees, which is locked or almost at like a, 45 degree angle?
Yeah, just shy of it maybe.
Yeah. So you can't adjust it from there. The mounts are for monitors with VESA mounting holes of 75 millimeter by 75 millimeter or 100 by 100 millimeter dimensions. And this whole stand weighs in at about 16 kilograms.
Which in America equals not very much.
Yeah, no, it's pretty it's pretty light, but it's definitely stout.
Yeah.
Stout enough where, again, I'm not worried about these monitors hanging here, especially even in this bridge style. It doesn't worry me at all. And this thing came nicely packaged, wrapped in bubble wrap. Don't need to show you that stuff, but I'll tell you that it did. No scratches, no dents, nothing when it arrived. Just came UPS. Powder coated steel, heavy duty. Like I said, we trust our monitors on this thing, so it's built well. Adjusts with knobs, so everything secures with those knobs down low and up high here and in the middle. 24 is the absolute maximum. 19 to 24 inches is the recommended sizes, and 24 is a tight fit. So if you want to go bigger than that, forget it. Unless you've got, some bezel-less monitors, and if you got something like that, I'd recommend something a little more expensive. And speaking of which, price goes for 93.60 British pounds,
to be exact,
or about 150 bucks. So that's going to vary depending on exchange rate, but so yeah, about 150 bucks for that monitor stand, and I'd say it's a pretty good price.
Yeah, and I like it's this cool bridge style design, which allows you to get your wheel all the way up to the monitors because there's nothing preventing you. I mean, it's just completely open under there.
Actually, I think if we even lifted up an inch or two,
you can even go all the way to here.
Yeah, which would be kind of crazy.
Pretty slick. So that's going to take us to our pros and cons and rev scale, but before we do that, we're going to take a quick commercial break.
Tamiya's extensive lineup of radio-controlled vehicles provides hobbyists with the joy of running exact replicas of their favorite car, tank, or off-road vehicle. Another attraction of these vehicles is their use of high-grade materials, such as nylon resin, carbon fiber, and polycarbonate. With precise mechanical systems, the maintenance and adjustment of the various components, as well as performance upgrading with optional parts, allows for truly competitive racing. For more information about Tamiya, visit us at www.tamiyausa.com.
Welcome back to our review of the GT Omega triple monitor stand. and re-review of the GT Omega Racing rig, which was in the first half of the show. So if you didn't see that, rewind and catch that. But let's talk about the pros and cons, starting with the cons. And biggest con is that there's no adjustability in regards to angle, or once they're mounted, really anything. I mean, there's just, and I'm just talking the monitors. There's adjustability up and down, and that's a pro, but we'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, no adjustability as far as the tilt goes and stuff like that.
Yeah, and you mentioned it earlier, but if you're installing like 24s, it's a very tight fit. So it's going to be tricky to get with the lack of adjustability. It's going to be kind of tricky. You can see we have a little indifference right there.
Yeah.
And so that it's going to work great with 19 to 22 inch monitors, but if you push it to 24s, it's a little tricky on the install.
Next con is it takes some space. It does take up a big footprint, but triple monitors do.
That's a lot of monitors, so yeah.
Yeah, and it'll go to one of the pros, but the bridge style allows you to actually consolidate a little bit, because if you had it pushed to the end of this rig, then you take up a little bit more space.
Maybe it's just a little warning to anybody going to triples. Maybe you should do a little measuring, make sure, because triples are a lot of space in general.
Yep.
The next or last con is actually a little bit regarding the quality of construction. There was a little burr, a little piece of metal, so when we were assembling it, kind of had to do a little banging on it. It worked.
and I've talked to Leo at GT Omega, and they said that they've gone through and checked all of them, and that's not an issue anymore. So that's no longer a con, and that'll take us to the pros. And lots of adjustability up and down to its max. Any higher, and I would say it might start getting a little unstable. Is that the word I'm looking for? Because I want to say instability, but
I think everyone understands you.
Yeah. But and it's not that it's not stable now, because this is pretty stable considering. I mean, I'm shaking it pretty good, and again, I trust it. Yeah, the adjustability up and down is definitely one of the pros.
Absolutely. Another pro is the good-looking design. I mean, it's a little bit minimalistic in its approach to it, but that actually comes off pretty well because you don't see the stand very much. You see the monitors, and that's what you want to focus on, so it works real well there.
Yeah, next pro, relatively quick and easy to install. It just basically put the tubes together, and you're up and running pretty quick. 24s, you're going to have some tweaking and adjusting to go, and you might have, some off, it might be off a little bit, but it's just something you might have to deal with.
And another pro is the price. It's relatively inexpensive. I mean, I know like you have those fancy articulating arms on your monitors. I don't even know what that would cost. I've built some custom ones that cost me probably almost this much just to get all the material I needed. So it's a good price.
And the other one is it can actually be used for a very large single monitor. So adaptability. If you wanted to go start with a single monitor and then change to triples, you can use it for either.
Sure. Another pro, probably the last pro on this stand, is something, it's real stable. And it doesn't connect to the rig, so that's not the issue. But like if somebody bumped into it, I'm not concerned that this is going to fall over at all. I mean, I was able to move one side of it on my own, just slide it, and it just seems like it's going to stay upright.
I agree. So that's going to wrap up the pros and cons, and that's going to take us to the rev scale for the GT Omega Racing triple monitor stand. And we're going to give it an 8 on the rev scale. And we would have got a 9 if it would have had the extra adjustability. And pretty much to a 10. I mean, that lack of adjustability and the fact that we've got this uneven monitor here, I don't know. We probably could have shimmed it. I think the VESA mounts probably need to be a little bit higher on the middle to compensate for just the design. I think it's just a design flaw, which isn't huge. I mean, it's not too bad, but yeah, I think it could have got to a 10 with just some more adjustability and without that flaw.
And I gotta tell you, just like so many things we've tested in the past, like that difference there, I'd take care of it. So give me a little time, a little shimming, like you said. It's gonna come out right. It's just gonna take that extra work.
I got another pro.
Okay.
It works for any rig, pretty much.
I was thinking that in my head.
Not just GT Omega.
It's like pull an R seat up to it, pull a play seat up to it.
There's a guy in our forum that's got an R seat with this stand. So, as a matter of fact, Leo GT Omega distributes R seats in the UK. So if you're in the UK, you can get an R seat from him and this stand and be ready to go.
Or GT Omega.
Yeah, because that's a great rig too. We stand by that rig, going out and closing on both of this.
Yeah.
This is a cool package. You know, I would definitely race in this. I have one of the cons that I forgot to mention about this too. This thing is for me being taller. Oh, we do have extenders too that we didn't even need. Me being 6'4", there's some extenders to extend this rig for somebody that's even taller.
Yeah.
But I bumped my arm on this.
Oh, so you'd be hitting your speakers too if they were on there.
I would. So that was a con for me. But man, for the price, this I called it an all-in-one jobber in our original review, and for an all-in-one jobber, pretty comfortable seat, cool looking, man. The Supreme package, I would be proud to say, hey, check out my sim racing rig.
Oh yeah, you wouldn't even have to point it out. Everyone would take notice, that's for sure.
So you can get this at gtomegaracing.com. Tell Leo we sent you, and again, this whole package is worth $575, not including obviously the wheel and pedals and all this stuff.
Right.
Hey, if you wanted this whole package, monitors and everything, probably looking at about $1,500, not including a computer.
Yeah.
So computer, triple monitors, you're probably looking at about $2,500.
So if somebody's looking for a starter set that would have them at the top level right off the bat,
Yeah.
this would be the way to go.
Or the base. You can start with the base and just build up. That's what's kind of cool about GT Omega. It's modular, so you can just build it up, start with the base in there, go from there. All right, again, that's going to wrap things up for my good buddy Sean Cole. Before I go, I'd like to mention, visit our website, InsideSimRacing.tv. Check out our sim rig section. Besides the GT Omega, we have tons of rigs that we've reviewed there. This new review is going to be added to the section along with the stand. We'll actually segment the stand review out, and it'll be in a tech section or a video tech. So you can check it out there as well.
And our DIY rigs are there, so if you're not in the budget to be buying a rig, there's other ways to get there.
Yep. So hope you've enjoyed everything here. Again, we'll see you next time. If you're spending that much money, you're going to be able to spend much more money on a triple monitor stand. Speaking of which, price?
Price?
How much does it go for? You don't know, do you?
No, I don't. 100 and something.
So hope you've enjoyed everything here. Again, we'll see you next time.